I have a few adjustments and additions to your story to make it more coherent and engaging. Have you ever heard of Smile Dog? If you were around my age and were a fan of creepypastas, you must have seen this image circulating on the internet. It depicts the terrifying face of a husky, smiling ominously in the shadows, with a bloody hand behind it, urging viewers to spread the word. While it may not evoke the same level of fear today, back in the day, it was truly chilling. I've always been one to cling to the past, finding solace and intrigue in old tales rather than embracing the new. However, little did I know that this nostalgia would lead me down a dark and troubling path. It all began one Saturday night at my house. Having recently gone through a separation, I wasn't in the mood to socialize with friends or engage in any activities. Instead, I opted to spend the evening alone in the darkness of my room, indulging in my love for old stories, video games, and creepypastas. It was during this time that I stumbled upon a peculiar website, unlike any other I had visited before. While most creepypasta sites were adorned with skulls and satanic symbols, this one was eerily normal, with simple colors and an unusual design that unsettled me. Despite feeling a sense of unease, I couldn't resist exploring further. The site housed a collection of popular creepypastas, including one of my favorites, Smile Dog. Despite having read it countless times before, something compelled me to revisit the story. It was as if I was under a trance, hypnotized to delve into its unsettling narrative once more. As I read, a palpable sense of dread washed over me, unlike anything I had experienced before. Every word seemed to pulsate with a sinister energy, sending shivers down my spine. Feeling increasingly nauseous and unsettled, I hastily finished the story and bid farewell to the website. However, as I glanced at the screen one last time, the image of Smile Dog seemed to stare back at me with dark, enigmatic eyes. Feeling dizzy and disoriented, I decided to call it a night and retreated to bed, eager to escape the clutches of fear that gripped me. When I awoke, it was much darker than I anticipated. Confused and groggy, I realized that my alarm had failed to go off, and darkness enveloped the house. This wasn't the usual dimness. It was a suffocating void, devoid of any light or sound. A sense of unease crept over me as I navigated through the pitch-black house, my footsteps echoing eerily in the silence. As I reached for the light switch, a chilling laughter echoed from behind the bed, freezing me in my tracks. It was a laughter tinged with familiarity, yet I couldn't place its origin. Trembling with apprehension, I slowly turned to confront the source of the sound, only to be met with a sight that sent chills down my spine. Peeking out from behind the bed was a figure, unmistakably canine, yet undeniably sinister. It was a husky, but there was something off about its demeanor, something unnerving that sent a shiver down my spine. And then, in a sudden rush of terror, it hit me. This was Smile Dog, the very entity from the creepypasta I had just read, with a grin that stretched impossibly wide, revealing row upon row of razor-sharp teeth. The dog's eyes gleamed with an otherworldly intensity, glowing a deep, menacing red. My heart pounded in my chest as a wave of primal fear washed over me, trapping me in its grip. Here's the continuation of the story, with some adjustments for coherence and suspense. With every centimeter that the smile grew longer, and the veins that ran all over its face, reaching the center of its eyes, the dog became the most terrifying being I had ever encountered. I felt an overwhelming urge to flee, but my legs remained frozen, utterly paralyzed. It was as if a malevolent force enveloped the house, rendering me powerless. As the deformed dog slowly approached, its movements resembling a blend of canine and supernatural, my heart raced with dread. When it stood mere inches away, it shifted onto two legs, its mouth moving unnaturally. "What are you? What do you want?" I managed to stammer, my voice barely audible above the pounding of my heart. The dog's mouth moved, but the words seemed to emanate from a dark shadow behind it, as if it were a puppet controlled by an unseen entity. "Spread the word," it hissed, its voice a chilling whisper that echoed through the darkness. Before I could comprehend its cryptic message, darkness enveloped us once more, plunging me into a void of terror. I felt a hot breath against my ear, followed by the sensation of a tongue brushing against my skin, sending shivers of revulsion down my spine. Pain and fear consumed me as the tongue slithered into my ear, exploring every inch of my body with a grotesque intimacy. Unable to scream or move, I could only endure the torment as it continued, each moment stretching into an eternity of agony. And then, as abruptly as it began, it ceased, leaving me trembling and disoriented in the darkness. When I awoke, drenched in sweat and gasping for air, I struggled to distinguish between nightmare and reality. My ears throbbed with pain, a grim reminder of the horrors I had endured. Desperate for solace, I glanced at the computer, only to find the image of Smile Dog staring back at me, its sinister message hauntingly familiar. From that day on, the nightmares persisted, each one more vivid and terrifying than the last. Trapped in a cycle of fear and despair, I clung to a glimmer of hope, believing that by sharing my ordeal, I could somehow break free from the clutches of the malevolent entity that haunted my dreams. To those who may encounter Smile Dog in their own nightmares, I offer this warning. Heed my tale as a cautionary reminder of the dangers that lurk in the shadows of cyberspace. Spread the word, and perhaps together we can confront the darkness that threatens to consume us all. Thefts and disputes between people are the most common issues we deal with here. People in our community are usually peaceful and believe in helping each other out. However, the most horrifying case our country has seen to date occurred 20 years ago, and unfortunately, I was there to witness it all. I have always enjoyed working the graveyard shift. It's relatively peaceful, and I don't have a family back home who might need me at night. I often let my colleagues take the day shifts so they can go home in the evening. On that particular night, everything seemed routine. I had just finished my patrol and was sipping coffee at my desk. Our police station is located close to the forest, so encounters with bears, wolves, or other wild animals are not uncommon. We always keep our doors and windows locked, a precautionary measure ingrained in our routine. That night, however, a sense of unease crept in when we heard a high-pitched cry emanating from the forest. Initially, we brushed it off, attributing it to the cries of animals, which often sound similar to human cries. But when the cries persisted, growing louder and more frequent. Even the rookies among us began to feel unsettled. Suddenly, a disheveled woman burst out of the woods, running straight towards the police station. Her appearance was alarming. Clothes dirty, hair tangled, and eyes wide with fear. Without hesitation, we ushered her inside, offering comfort and assistance. Despite our efforts, she remained inconsolable, speaking incoherently and sobbing uncontrollably. After what seemed like an eternity, she managed to compose herself slightly and uttered chilling words. I saw the severed head of a man stuck up a tree in the forest. We exchanged skeptical glances, assuming her account was a result of drug-induced hallucinations. However, her next revelation sent shivers down our spines. I saw a headless man roaming the forest, she whispered, her eyes filled with terror. Despite our skepticism, her words lingered in the air, casting a shadow of doubt over our assumptions. The following day, another chilling report surfaced. A man had emerged from the forest, mirroring the woman's account of a severed head impaled on a tree branch. As the details unfolded, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that gripped me. Were these encounters mere hallucinations? Or was something far more sinister lurking in the depths of the forest? As I pondered these questions, a sense of foreboding washed over me, signaling that our peaceful community may be facing a threat unlike anything we had encountered before. Investigation even more challenging. Despite our best efforts, the case remained shrouded in mystery, leaving us grappling with unanswered questions and lingering fear. The discovery of the decapitated body only deepened the intrigue surrounding the case. Who was this man? And why was he murdered in such a gruesome manner? The absence of any tangible evidence or leads left us feeling helpless, as if we were chasing shadows in the dark. As the days turned into weeks, the memory of the headless man haunted me, his chilling presence lingering in the depths of my mind. Had he been a restless spirit seeking justice for his untimely demise? Or was there a more rational explanation lurking beneath the surface? Despite the lack of closure, life in our small town eventually returned to normalcy, albeit with a lingering sense of unease. The forest, once a place of solace and tranquility, now held an air of menace, its depths concealing secrets best left undisturbed. As I reflect on that harrowing experience, I can't help but wonder if the truth behind the headless man will ever come to light. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved, their enigmatic allure serving as a reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that lurks within us all. Before closing time, Toby and Zach were out on a delivery, leaving me, my dad, and the chef in the restaurant. It was a slow night, with only a few patrons scattered across the dining area. As we were preparing to close up for the night, a man entered the restaurant, his demeanor tense and agitated. He demanded to speak with my father, claiming to have urgent business to discuss. Sensing his urgency, my father invited him to sit down, eager to assist however he could. The man, whom I recognized as a regular customer, seemed distressed as he relayed his concerns. He spoke of strange occurrences in the forest, of eerie sightings and unexplained phenomena that had left him shaken to his core. Despite my father's attempts to reassure him, the man's fear only seemed to escalate. He spoke of a headless apparition haunting the woods, of voices whispering in the darkness, driving him to the brink of madness. As he spoke, a chill swept through the restaurant, sending shivers down my spine. His words carried an otherworldly weight, as if he were recounting encounters with forces beyond our comprehension. Intrigued yet unnerved by his tale, my father listened intently, offering words of comfort and support. But as the man's story unfolded, a sense of unease settled over us, casting a pall over the once jovial atmosphere of the restaurant. As the man departed, his eyes haunted by the horrors he had witnessed, my father and I exchanged a knowing glance. Something sinister lurked in the shadows of our town, something beyond our understanding or control. In the days that followed, whispers of the headless apparition spread like wildfire, igniting fear and speculation among the townsfolk. Rumors swirled, theories abounded, but one thing remained clear. The forest held secrets best left undisturbed. As we closed up the restaurant for the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that our peaceful town was on the brink of something far more sinister. And as the darkness closed in around us, I couldn't help but wonder what other horrors awaited us in the depths of the forest. The thing I did was roll down the window just enough to hear what he had to say, but not enough for him to reach in or open the door. The man leaned in close, his breath reeking of alcohol, and demanded to know what I wanted. His words were slurred, and his gaze was unsettling, sending a shiver down my spine. I explained that I was on my way to deliver food to Mr. and Mrs. Franco, hoping to diffuse the tension with a friendly gesture. However, my attempts at diplomacy were met with hostility as the man's demeanor grew increasingly aggressive. He demanded that I turn around and leave, accusing me of trespassing on their territory. I tried to reason with him, emphasizing that I meant no harm and only wished to deliver the food as requested. But my words fell on deaf ears as the man's companions joined him, surrounding the car and blocking my path. Panic surged within me as I realized the gravity of the situation. Trapped and outnumbered, I knew I had to act fast to escape unscathed. Summoning all the courage I could muster, I revved the engine and prepared to make a daring escape. With a surge of adrenaline, I slammed my foot on the gas pedal, causing the car to lurch forward and narrowly avoid colliding with the men. As I sped away, their shouts faded into the distance, and I breathed a sigh of relief, grateful to have evaded a potentially dangerous encounter. Racing towards Mr. and Mrs. Franco's house, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that lingered in the air, a stark reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows of our seemingly peaceful town. Of garbage, the discovery confirmed our suspicions and strengthened our case against the perpetrators. With the evidence in hand, the authorities swiftly apprehended the men, bringing them to justice for their illegal activities. As the news of their arrest spread throughout the town, a sense of relief washed over us. Our community could once again breathe easy, knowing that those responsible for endangering our safety and polluting our environment would face the consequences of their actions. In the aftermath of the ordeal, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the presence of mind to record the encounter on my dash cam. Without it, the perpetrators may have gone unpunished, free to continue their reckless behavior unchecked. As I reflected on the events of that fateful day, I couldn't help but marvel at the power of technology to expose wrongdoing and hold perpetrators accountable. In a world where justice is often elusive, it was heartening to see our community come together to uphold the rule of law and protect our shared environment. And as I returned to my duties at the restaurant, I did so with a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that even in the face of adversity, we could make a difference by standing up for what is right and refusing to back down in the face of injustice. The revelation of the true nature of those men sent a shiver down my spine. It was a chilling reminder of how close I had come to danger, unaware of the sinister motives lurking beneath the surface. As news of their arrest spread, I couldn't help but feel a sense of disbelief mingled with relief. The seemingly innocuous encounter on the road had escalated into a confrontation with dangerous criminals, putting not only myself, but our entire community at risk. The thought that I had unwittingly stumbled upon a den of criminals sent a shudder through me. The realization that those men were not merely disposing of trash, but were involved in far more nefarious activities, left me reeling. It was a sobering reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the facade of our seemingly peaceful town. In the days that followed, I found myself haunted by the memory of that encounter, unable to shake the feeling of unease that lingered in its wake. The thought that I had unknowingly crossed paths with criminals sent a chill down my spine, casting a shadow over the once familiar streets of our town. As I returned home, the events of the day replayed in my mind, each moment etched with a newfound sense of gravity. The realization that I had unwittingly stumbled upon a criminal operation left me shaken to the core, my sense of security shattered by the harsh reality of the world around me. And as I reflected on the events of that fateful day, I couldn't help but wonder about the fragility of life and the dangers that lurked in the shadows, waiting to ensnare the unwary. It was a sobering reminder of the importance of remaining vigilant and aware of our surroundings, for danger could strike when least expected. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to deliver Mr. and Mrs. Franco's pasta that day. The memory of the encounter weighed heavily on my mind, casting a pall over even the simplest of tasks. But as I settled into bed that night, I couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the role I had played in helping to apprehend those criminals, ensuring that our community remained safe from harm.